I've actually argued with more than a few community care affiliated individuals. I mean real arguments, not nasty, but arguing the point on behalf of the veteran is that you're making it difficult. You're talking to me. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I do joint replacement. And I'm talking to you on behalf of a veteran patient that I want to see, and you're preventing the patient from coming to me. Explain that to me.
Sound your 1, 2. Sound your 3, 4.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Unfinished Business, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. There's a part of the veteran experience most people never see. The quiet battles fought inside phone queues, referral loops, and offices where no one seems to be looking at the same information. That's where I spent more than 18 months, not recovering, not improving, just circling. My image was misread by a PA, my treatment didn't match my condition, and every step of the process pushed me somewhere else without giving me real answers. It took a call to the White House VA hotline just to get someone to look at my case with the urgency it deserved. That moment revealed a truth many veterans know too well. Sometimes the healthcare system is designed to help us become the system that keeps us stuck. And that's where Dr. Eldon Hopkins enters this story. He didn't guess, delay, or redirect. He looked, he understood, and he acted. Today, we're not discussing my recovery. We're addressing the broader system that allowed this delay to happen and why it must change. Dr. Eldon Hopkins, thank you.
Pleasure.
Dr. Hopkins, this is an amazing role reversal to have you on my Unfinished Business podcast, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. And this is part of the pursuit of new life missions, getting physical, mental, spiritual, and psychological health, right? And
absolutely.
And for us coming together to have this podcast is such a personal moment for me because this, in many ways, is a dedication to your hard work and dedicate an effort to help me rehabilitate two hip replacements that you performed on me, and it hits close to home because my wife and I love and adore you as a practitioner and how you've directed this process for me to reach total healing. So I just wanted to let you know that.
My pleasure.
When I read my when I went and read the cold opening, what stuck out to you?
I mean, all the points were hitting home because I know the story. I mean, and it's it's amazing. But the thing that sticks out is it's a story I've heard before with veterans that have come to see me through community care, but your story was just, as I told you, the worst in terms of the magnitude, the length of time. But the themes were exactly the same. There's no difference. And what, because initially when I first started, I was just happy that, that veterans were getting to see me, they were being able to get the care outside the VA system the way that community care was supposed to work. Because for so many, administrations, it's been there, but it never really functioned. So I was excited that it was actually functioning and veterans were actually coming and they were getting cared for. But then when I started listening to the stories, so at first I was just happy. Veterans were getting cared for and it was great. But not very long after I started with community care and that availability and the availability to take care of these patients that I so much wanted to take care of was happening, is I started hearing the stories of because I never thought in my head that it would be that difficult. Because so often, an MRI was not required, a CAT scan was not needed, and as with you, just simple X-ray. I could see the problem. And what I've always thought, and I have discussed before we actually ever met, is how can this stop? But I didn't know. And then I would try calling into community care, the people that referred to me. But all that I figured out is they just were a conduit for the veterans to make it to me, but they had zero influence on what happened to them. Like the steps that they had to go through, they couldn't shortcut them. Because my whole point was, and I won't stop saying this, is we've got to come up with a way to eliminate the unnecessary visits. All that should be able to be requested is, I want to see, like in my case, I want to see Dr. Eldon Hopkins. I've got a hip and a knee problem, and that should be it. You know, does this doctor take community care? Yes, he's been with community care, for about a decade. So he's in the system. Let me go. But it's not that simple, as you know.
Yeah.
And then all of these unnecessary steps. I mean, you listen to your story, and you should just do a podcast on your story. And hopefully we'll be able to get into it, because I think some time should be spent to hear how much, because your story is what I've heard before on steroids, except because there were so many, missed opportunities, missteps, and all they had to do is from the first visit, refer you.
Yeah. When you first looked at my x-rays, your reaction was immediate and decisive. What did you see clinically that told you that the situation was far more severe than I had been told for over a year?
Well, yeah. Well, basically, Rush, what they said is, what I saw is, 2 bone-on-bone hips, and hiding in that was the reason. And in your case, you had impingement between, your femur bone and your hip socket that took your hips down, so it was an anatomic thing that you were born with that kind of set your hips up to fail.
Yeah.
And, the anatomy was a little bit unique, but the fact of the matter, it was in the x-ray. I mean, you can get more sophisticated studies, but the answer is there, and that's the thing that was most striking in your case, is that the length of time.
Yeah.
And all that it really needed was just an x-ray. So, and then I'm sure the veteran audience out there knows that's dealt with, the VA and orthopedic imaging and all of this stuff and orthopedic clinic visits, is the visits are often with nurse practitioners or PAs who are important ancillary support staff for sure. But it's hard for them because of their understaffing. They get put in decision-making positions that really aren't for them, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think they intentionally, I think they're overwhelmed. And, and I guess what I'm saying for hips and knees, the VA could unload itself by just making it easy for the veteran population, to come, get their hips and knees evaluated. I'm a veteran physician, not a veteran, but a supporter of veterans, and I always have been a physician, supporter, advocate. The only problem is advocacy is difficult from the outside, right?
Yeah.
Because you can have concepts, but you don't know how to fix it. I've talked to folks at the VA, usually in the community care, because I didn't know anybody else in the community care realm, but about the issues, I'm like, this makes no sense. Why is this taking so long? Let the patient come. Yeah. I don't need anything. MRI, no. CT, no. Just let them come. Well, they have to go through this step. And I'm saying, but why? And no one could ever answer the why. It was just because that's the protocol and the way it is. And that's my goal. And I told you this from when I met you.
Yeah.
Before knee surgery, that I want to tear that down.
Yeah.
And rebuild it in an easier way for veterans.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason we're here, is so veterans can hear something about my story that resonates, and then we can, there can be a call to action in this situation. You've treated thousands of veterans through the VA system and community care. What patterns do you consistently see in delaying diagnosis? I think you kind of answered this a little bit.
Right, but I'll carry it. I'll carry it through. One, unnecessary imaging studies. that just aren't needed. To inexpert staffing looking at the images. Referrals either not routed at all or misrouted, and then when it gets misrouted, there's no acceleration. Oh, sorry, Mr. Rush, I'm sorry, we're going to fix that, and because we made that mistake. No, you go back to the beginning and you start over.
Yeah.
And then it takes more time. So I mean, it's a common theme. And then the veteran's hurting. They have pain, and then the problem's not getting solved. And then when the imaging, and then there's delays in getting the imaging actually performed, because the VA, there's a limited number of MRIs and CAT scans, and you have to wait in line for that. And then when it gets done, who reads it? So that's the other problem, is everybody is overwhelmed, right? So you have radiologists who are overwhelmed, well-meaning but overwhelmed. Orthopedic imaging, you're going to get, usually, and this is from what I've seen, you're going to get general radiologists. You're not going to get the musculoskeletal guys that read my studies. Fellowship-trained musculoskeletal who are radiologists, but who did extra training in musculoskeletal radiology. So you're not going to get those people. So you'll get the general radiologists who, honestly, I really haven't read a study. They might not catch the nuances that I see, but I really haven't seen a study that truly missed the mark from the radiologist. But the problem is the follow-through. So once the study shows a problem, it should be immediate referral. You had all these delays, but then you have to wait for an appointment to review the study. Well, the answer's already there, but you have to wait for an appointment. It ends up being PA, nurse practitioner, in some cases resident doctor, who don't really have the expert skill to really tell what to do. And then unnecessary physical therapy visits, which are often a detriment. They cause pain. It's unnecessary. It's an absolute waste of time and resources, right? So I really think the VA's resources, the resource pool that is there, not just in Dallas, but every veterans facility in the United States, you got a limited pool of resources. If you could reroute and redirect those resources, make physical therapy for folks that have had an injury that could be rehabilitated, or sports surgery that needs to be rehabilitated, a sports injury. Leave the therapy, overwhelmed visits and therapists, leave that for them. And then you take out the pool like yourself, that stuff's not going to help and actually is a detriment to. You remove them, and then you get them out of the system to the care level that they need, and so immediately you can unburden imaging, because I could order an MRI.
Yeah.
If I needed one and I couldn't get it outside the system, the veteran could go back. But I haven't met, knock wood, one veteran that I've needed an MRI on. Not one. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
I mean, the studies were done. I would look at them. But were they necessary? No.
Yeah.
So if you take out that veteran population, you can unburden imaging. You can unburden physical therapy. You can unburden the clinics, so that right and proper care, gets done.
Yeah.
And then that goes also, we can't leave out the community clinics, right?
Yeah.
Because you run into the same problems there.
Yeah.
And so many that I've seen come from the clinics.
Yeah.
And I'm happy, don't misunderstand me, to my nurse practitioner and physical therapy friends, I'm happy for the referrals. But what I've tried to communicate is that I really want to be a resource. Call me. This is my cell number. Send these patients. Don't order an MRI. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
You don't have to order an X-ray. I have X-ray in my office. State-of-the-art X-ray in my office. Don't do anything. Make the referral.
Yeah. the interesting part of my situation is that, once the PA, or, physician assistant, looked at my x-ray, he gave me a diagnosis that I didn't feel was right. It was like, I don't know, like, this seems so like a shot, and it's gonna, temporary fix to a long-term problem. And I knew something more was wrong with his assertion, the kind of the saying like, this is, go do this and that's it, and I wasn't satisfied with that answer too,
Right.
You've been openly frustrated when you learned I was lost in the VA system for more than a year, right? Because I had to, got stuck in the vortex of the let's say the phone call queue, phone queue, right?
Mm-hmm.
From your vantage point, what made my situation emblematic of a bigger issue you've seen in community care?
Well, I mean, it really, all steps of it. Like I said, it was things I've seen, but they were just magnified.
Yeah.
Because in your case, the problem is the misdiagnosis, right?
Yeah.
You knew it wasn't right.
Yeah.
But the problem with the system is when you write that diagnosis down, it follows you,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So
It's true.
So it's like one wrong step leads to the next one. And so it's a pathway, right?
Yeah.
So you give somebody a diagnosis. Well, there's, especially with PAs and nurse practitioners, there's a logical, and physicians too, for the most part, there's a logical progression for that diagnosis. So the pathway is this way. The pathway you need is over here, right? And so you're going in a wrong direction
Yeah.
that has no end. And because the initial diagnosis was wrong,
Yeah.
so that's where having the ability to access the expert from the beginning
Yeah.
is needed,
Yeah.
right? Because it elevates the care of the veteran immediately. Because why should they not, right? And this is the thing that's even from medical school and residency days that I never understood about the VA, is these are the people who have done the most and they get the least. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
It's my judgment and my opinion. But I've seen it on the inside. I don't live it the way you do, but I've seen the system and its dysfunction, and it's a difficult mission, to be honest with you, to provide health care to so many veterans, so the mission's not easy, but it's so bureaucratic. It's such a big bureaucracy. But you're talking about healthcare.
Yeah.
You're not talking about widgets. You're talking about people and their lives,
Yeah.
their health. And the veterans deserve the highest level experts, right? But so often, think about it, VAs are connected to medical schools. So you get the resident doctor who's learning, who doesn't necessarily have the respect for the patient, who they're sitting in front of, who actually fought to give them opportunity to be sitting there,
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it just is unfortunate. And then when it's the resident clinic, well, that's an MD. So that's different, right? So that diagnosis could stick more. And then the VA clinics, the way they work, when it's the MD clinic, the resident clinic, it runs, you do a 3-month, 4-month rotation, and then the next resident. And so the diagnosis carries on and on. So it doesn't mean just a PA or nurse practitioner. It doesn't matter who it is. A wrong diagnosis is a wrong diagnosis, and why should the veteran get the doctor in training?
Yeah, it's so true. I've done chiropractic care in the VA system too. And you can feel, like, as a veteran, I can feel when a person's like
Practicing
or is very even scared of their own,
Yes,
what to
because they don't
their
know.
hands. Yeah.
Because they don't know.
Yeah.
For you and for all veterans that are listening, if you feel that, start the treatment because you'll get hurt.
Yeah.
There's a good chance you'll get hurt. And, my goal, and I don't pretend to know all the answers, but, my goal is to simplify the process.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big ask with the VA. And all that I want to do, I'm not trying to fix the whole VA. I just want to make the community care avenue of it easier.
Yeah.
You know, so with community care, so first you have to have physicians that care, right?
Yeah.
You know, that care for the veteran population, where it's not the insurance money and this and that care about the veteran patient, right? And I've actually argued with more than a few community care affiliated individuals. I mean real arguments, you know, not nasty, but arguing the point on behalf of the veteran is that you're making it difficult. You're talking to me. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I do joint replacement. And I'm talking to you on behalf of a veteran patient that I want to see, and you're preventing the patient from coming to me. Explain that to me.
Yeah.
And then they can't. And the answer invariably would end up being, well, it's our policy. I said, fix it. Well, I can't fix it because it's the policy. But it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But it's the policy. And, it's just, it has to be fixed. And I think, you know, to, you know, any veterans that, you know, this might strike a chord with, you know, send this podcast to your congressman, you know, send it to the director of the VA, you know, who I'd like to set a meeting with. We were chatting about this. I mean, and I told you when I met you that when I cared for you and you were done, you know, and what Rush isn't telling the audience out there is he just had his hip replacements, both of them done in like 3 or 4 months. So, and he looks great, you know, so he's not telling you how long ago I just did it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I really told Rush before we started the process, before I did anything, when I heard the story that when we were done, that he and I needed to go sit down with the director of the VA. And because I have some really simple solutions, but I can't influence the process. Yeah. He can't.
Yeah.
You know, congressmen and senators, as the veteran population knows, can also. But when those guys get written, we've talked about this too, is when the congressmen and the senators get involved, it becomes like, well, then it's a stick, you know, and then you're whacking somebody.
Yeah.
Well, and then you get a response. But it would just be better just to do positivity, you know?
Yeah.
Just fix it.
Yeah.
Peaceably, without the congressmen and the senators having to get upset. The veteran gets upset first, calls congressmen who get upset, and then the VA director is the person that gets it.
Yeah.
You know, well, if the VA director just could fix it, we could minimize so many letters, frustrations to veterans. And I mean, the stories that I could tell you, they go on and on, but it's the same theme.
Yeah.
You know, as you.
You know, when I walked in and it only took one X-ray for you to know what was wrong, right? And,
one,
right? That's the catch-all. It's like one X-ray, and even when I had the PA, the one who saw it first, when I walked in, he was looking at an image from my back. Well, it wasn't even for the appointment that I had scheduled, and it was from a image from 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was, so I had to go, hey, what are we talking about? He says, well, how's your back doing? I was like, I'm not here for my back. Like, no. So that was like, what are we talking about? And he was like, no, I was trying to talk to him, and he was like, no, this is what's wrong with your back. And I was like, that's why your hips are hurting. Like, what?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's it. But you saw, you know, this whole experience of having the delay, right? When I came in, like, and you offer a real-time solution that was for a long-term, that I had a long-term problem with. You saw me break down. You saw me, like, you saw me
no doubt
become like emotional. Right. Even while I was putting this podcast together, it triggered a bunch of things in me that said, you know what, like this system, like it like the pain I was dealing with, I was trying just to get it resolved, you know. And you were there for me at that time. What was it like to see a grown man like me, like just break down the way it did?
Well, yeah, I mean, it really touched your nerve, right? You know, to see, you know, just the psychological impact, right? We all talk about the physical, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, as men, you know, we deal in physicality, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? So it's the emotional, right? I mean, I knew the pain. We had I could see it
Yeah.
from the X-ray. But to see the emotional side, it really triggered me. It's like, geez, I mean, and to know that it was preventable, that's the thing that got me.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I wanted to get you taken care of so quickly. Right. Because, because it had gone too long. And I just saw it as, well, I can end this right now.
Yeah.
There's no more papers to write, and there's no, and the positive, the very, very positive thing about community care that I love, right? So you always say, like my mom always used to say, you gotta say something bad, you gotta say something good, right?
Yeah.
And so the positive thing about community care is that when the patient comes, when they finally get the visit with a specialist, like when you came to see me, you're actually already approved for anything that might need to be done.
Yeah.
So you come pre-approved. So it's packaged,
Yeah.
done. So I had the approval already before you actually walked in to do whatever was needed. So that's a strong positive. So if you already have that, so you got the back end covered, it's just getting the front end, right? How could, and there's so many ways that your story could have been shortcutted, because all that needed to be done is the referral be made.
Yeah. It's weird because I think I told you this at the time. Like, I called the White House VA, and that was my last thing I was going to do.
Correct.
Like, that was the absolute. I said, after this, I am done. I will just live with this pain forever. I said, I cannot do this anymore. Just get it on the phone and all that stuff. What helped me out was your style. Your style in the operating room and the clinic is striking to me. It's striking, authoritative, clear, and decisive, but also grounded in real cognitive empathy. Where does that leadership style come from? Training, temperament, or experience with veterans?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit of everything, but of all of the above. But the biggest thing is, I mean, honestly, my way and the way I take care of things, just came from folks, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And seeing how my dad dealt with things, and honestly, as physicians, when you do have a chance to lead, just honestly making mistakes. You got the opportunity to do leadership, and you're a leader. There's a positive way to do it, and they all get the job done, but you get so much more done on positivity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you use, goodwill to get people following you.
Yeah.
Rather than because they have to.
Yeah.
That make people want to.
Yeah.
And I mean, the biggest thing is acknowledging what people are, emotionally, the physical pain, the emotional, being able to just truly empathize with where they are, and to let them know you have a solution.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this doesn't have to be, and I think about that first visit, all of it, the whole visit, and where you are today, and I mean, it's like, and that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That we met.
Yeah.
So because my goal, listening to your story, was for all that you went through, I was going to shortcut it, and we were going to get you taken care of for all the unnecessary time.
Yeah.
Year and a half of all of this stuff,
when
the answer was always there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm, thankful, honestly, to God for the blessing, the talent, and and just being humble, humility, being kind, and you're blessed with the talent and sharing,
Yeah.
and doing it in an even-handed way.
I think also that they call it Godfidence, right? It's like you have God ordained confidence, you know. That resonated with me from a professional standpoint.
I'm going to use that term. I like
Confidence, yeah.
I like
do it.
right on that.
Yeah, I can take it. It's all yours. It's always been yours, man. I got to say that was one of the most important things, like going in there, like being decisive and being, you know, like be clear. And of course, like everything in me could have just like, but I knew that when the way you were just talking about everything, I knew that, okay, I just got to lay it down and not fight this situation, just lay down and get the hip replaced. And that was in June, the first one, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second one is in September. And
Yeah.
But your disposition, I think, resonates well with the veteran community. And that was one of the reasons I wanted you on here on the podcast too, to talk about this issue, but also let everybody know that, you know, that your approach to knee and hip replacement was right in line with what I needed, what I wanted. I need someone. We need to go this way,
Right.
And there is no other way.
Right.
There's no, you know, and I appreciated that from you. My recovery. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, my recovery, walking pain free in a week shocked me the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, what do most people misunderstand about modern joint replacement that could give them hope?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing about joint replacement, and when you talk about joint replacement, you have to separate, you know, because hip and knee replacement are the number 1 and 2 operations. Hip first, knee a close second, in terms of patient satisfaction out of all surgeries that are done, right?
Yeah.
So the patient satisfaction for a hip replacement is 99%. So that's what patients say, not what doctors say.
Yeah.
So 99% patient satisfaction. And then knee replacement is 95, 96%. You know, so all other surgeries, not just orthopedics, everything, all other surgeries fall below 90%.
Oh, wow.
You know, and the bottom is back surgery at 50% patient satisfaction.
Wow.
So and that's back surgery as a group. There's some parts of back surgery that have high satisfactions, but as a group total, you know, so the nice thing with joint replacement, the patient satisfactions are so high. So the reason why you have to separate them is because the experience of a hip replacement patient is different than a knee, right? Because hip replacement, you feel better quickly, right? Knee replacement is a lot more labor intense on the patient side, right? So the surgeon side is only about 50% of the final result. And then the patient has a whole 50. So if the patient doesn't do their part, it can get messed up, right? So, and then you have to work through pain to get there. Hip replacement, you know, is you feel better, you know, after the surgery than you did before with some relative immediacy. You know, so patients, it's kind of, I always call hip replacement operation of immediate gratification. Knee is a delayed gratification. Like you come in sign up for something, you do it, and then about 12 weeks later, you're going to get what you came for. And you got a lot of stuff to do in between. You know, but these are the most impactful surgeries that are done today. You know, and I have the good, blessed fortune that's what I do.
Yeah.
You know, you know, but modern joint replacement does, with all the techniques and all of the science in the implants, you know, it does provide rapid recovery, both of them, hips and knees. The knee experience is just different because the operation's different.
Yeah.
The patient side of it is different, but they both provide for, you know, rapid recoveries.
That I would say for sure. I have so many people that have that knew that I had hip replacement. They knew I had both, right? I have, you know, peers who were just sending me words of affirmation and encouragement. People who had hip replacement were saying, "Hey, it's the best thing you can ever do," and I think it had a lot to do with with the doctor I chose to have it done with, and you've done over 4,500 hip and knee replacements, right? When you look back at your body of work, like you look back at it and say, what do you want people to remember you for in your career?
That's a good question. No one's ever asked me that before. But I really would like to at the end of the day when I step away from this, which God willing isn't going to be anytime soon, but I want to be remembered as he cared. He was good at what he did, and he cared. And he always put God first, said his talents came from God, and never claimed it for himself. I never do that. And, and just to be known as a good guy, good man, who happened to be a good physician. That's what I want people to remember. And, and then for patients to also, remember there's a side to joint replacement, and there's a group of joint replacement patients that, often gets ignored, not just at the VA, but everywhere, and that's the patient that had a failed joint replacement, right?
Yeah.
When you look at yourself and how rapidly you recovered, I dare say probably most of your friends probably didn't recover as fast as you did, because even before this podcast started and you met me to let me in, I said, can't believe you had a hip replacement. I know you did because I did them, but it doesn't look like it. Because you move so well. But but that patient population needs to not be forgotten about too, right?
Yeah.
Because these are people that signed up for a joint replacement, had it done, and then it didn't work.
Yeah.
So that's a large part of my body of work is revision or fix-it surgery, right?
Yeah. Fixing
people who were done elsewhere where it didn't work out, and then the veteran population needs to remember that too, that there is still hope, right? Even if it didn't work out, painful joint replacements, that's a big part of what I do, evaluating these things when they hurt to figure out what's wrong so they can be fixed.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that out there because that's an important piece of the body of work that I do.
Yeah.
That doesn't get a lot of press, right? Because they're a forgotten group of patients.
Yeah. Right.
Because when it doesn't work out, what's the surgeon doesn't know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people don't want to do it, fix it work. So and then it leaves the patient to suffer.
Right. When you think of we'll wrap up in just a second. When we think of the advancement in hip replacement surgery, has there been an evolution, and when did you see a big shift in how that?
I think that the operation hasn't changed a lot from like what it is. The techniques have changed. And it's, easier to do, less invasive to patients but the concept of the operation is the same as after the first successful hip replacement was done in the early 60s in England. But implants are better, and I think the biggest innovation in hip replacement, at least, is the concept of the dual mobility hip, which is what I showed you and what you have, which allows for a more natural feel of the hip, right? And because the ball approximate the size of the natural ball that got taken out, and the mechanics of it mimic the natural hip. So that evolution probably came about, those implants probably came about 4 or 5 years ago. Knee replacement has always been fairly exacting. There's very little development. There's a little bit, but not much. But hip replacement, that's the biggest one.
Yeah,
it's made a big difference.
I'm going to share this with you right now on camera. when we made that decision, it was that day. Like we're appointments next week, right? That's what happened, right? I was in the office next week, right?
Yes.
I didn't look at any video of what actually was performed to me, performed to me. And then I went home, like maybe.
I don't think you should do that, by the way, out there. Don't do it. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, no, a month later, I said, what did he actually do?
Don't do it.
And I was like, oh my God. But it was funny because I didn't, well, man, you just went through that. Like I was just like tunnel vision because I knew it was like something moved me that way. I was like, okay. But the pain probably said, hey, just submit to this. But when maybe a month later, I looked at, so let me see what it is. Surgery was. And I was like, oh my God. Maybe that's why the other one wasn't September.
Good point. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. I mean, maybe. But no, I knew that I had to. I signed up. I shook your hand and said, well, "Yeah, we can do both."
Right.
And so I'm glad I did both. For veterans listening who are in pain right now but stuck in the system, what do you want them to know about advocating for themselves, and what signs should they not ignore?
I think that as far as advocating for themselves, I would say, well, first there's hope, right? And that you persist in it, and don't give up.
Yeah.
And if you feel like you're not being listened to by the system, and you're in pain, escalate.
Yeah.
The director, congressmen and senators, that really makes a difference. And if it's hip or knee pain, and there's anything towards potential for arthritis, impingement, things like that are mentioned, give them my name. We take community care.
Yes.
I take it, always have. The veteran population I've shared with you is important to me.
Yeah.
Always has been, for the service that you guys provide us and the opportunities you guys are giving me. And it's the smallest way I can give back. So I would tell veterans also that feel free to drop my office a line. Like if you're trying to get through and you're struggling, we do know some of the community care representatives. There's a handful of them that have been helpful to veterans in my office, and sometimes when patients get stuck, they can help us break through. But the biggest thing is don't give up.
Yeah.
And the biggest sign not to ignore is your pain, because it's real, right?
Mm-hmm.
And anything treatment plan that hurts you, don't do it. Stop.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean refusal to do the protocol. It means you're hurting. That's common sense, right? If it hurts, don't do it.
Yeah.
And just push, never stop. Because at the end of the day, there's hope.
Yeah.
Right.
And if people want to get a hold of you, where would they go? Where would they try?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we my practice is Medical City Hip and Knee Specialist. We're on the web. And then you just Google my name, Dr. Eldon Hopkins, and then our web is www.medicalcityhipandknee.com.
Dr. Hopkins,
Sure.
I want to advocate. I just want to say this to you. Close. More like just. I just want to tell you. You didn't just replace my hip. This is a part where I said, Lord Firestone made people cry. I made myself cry. Don't call me Chris Everett. No, I was kidding. Let's see. You didn't just replace my hip. You restored my ability to move, work, and live without the kind of pain that grinds a person down over time. The person who walked in was that guy. I was being grounded.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want to thank you for not only the surgeries, but for your candor about what went wrong, for the commitment to helping veterans navigate a system that often leaves them stranded, and for your leadership. Your leadership speaks for itself in the clinic, in the OR, in the way you show up for veterans, and has meant more than for me and my wife than you'll ever know. And I just want to tell you thank you, and I want to thank you for helping me.
Absolute pleasure.
And healing me, helping to heal.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Guys, if you're having hip and knee issues and you're a combat veteran or veteran period, please look up Dr. Eldon Hopkins. I can co-sign for what kind of doctor he is, and that's why he's on this podcast, so that we can put him on a hill, light on a hill. But we've also signed up to take this to the next level and try to address some of the systemic problems that I face and a lot of veterans face.
Right, no doubt.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing that together too.
No, we're going to keep doing it.
We're going to keep doing it, and we're going to be working for the greater good for the veteran community.
Pleasure.
Guys, that's it for Unfinished Business, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. As I always say, have peace and enlighten you, and remember that the ocean refuses no river.
Sound your 1, 2.